we're with the Lipstick Pickup podcasts.
Right.
And I am here with my old friend and new friend, Wolf Stevenson.
Great to see you again.
Great to see you again. We are on location in Jackson, Mississippi, my hometown. I'm here for my 40th high school reunion, and I'm so lucky to get a tour of Malaco Records.
I'm pleased to have you here after all these years.
Well, I have to tell, I'm going to explain to my listeners who
Sure.
Wolf Stevenson is, because lots of people know and more people are about to know. Okay, I'm at Malaco Records of Jackson, Mississippi. And how would you describe your job here? And you've been here since the very beginning. Do you call yourself the
engineer
engineer
and producer, but most of the stuff that we did over the first 30, 35 years, I was the only engineer in the building for a long time. After that, we got to be a lot busier, so there are other guys around now. And I'm sort of semi-retired as far as engineering goes. I'm an engineer emeritus, pretty much. Kemp Dose is our main engineer now.
Who I just met, who grew up around the corner from me. Jackson is one of those kind of towns, and I think everybody should come here for so many things, at least once. One of them is Malaco Records, and the wonderful Civil Rights Museum that is here is another one. But I was coming for this specific trip, and I had been telling John the whole time I've been working on this, which is at least 4 years, that one day I wanted to talk to you. And I thought to myself, I'm going to Jackson. It's a long shot. People are busy, but let me call John and see if I can go to Malaco and see Wolf and talk to him, and ask and you shall receive. Here in
absolutely.
in the a recording studio associated with gospels. I asked and I received. And you said, nice to finally get you here. I remember coming to Malaco Records with Leslie when I was a kid. It was kind of like I have to go to work with my dad today.
Oh yeah, that happened a lot.
Yeah, and I remember it being very dark. I had never been into a recording studio. I've already been here for 2 hours, and I have learned so much. I thought I knew. I didn't have a grasp of what all has gone here, the enormity of everything that you've done here.
Yeah, it's been a lot going on for 58 years.
58 years.
Of course, it started out slow and small, but grew rapidly over the years.
Wolf has taken me on a tour of the whole place in a warehouse that is a media hoarder's dream.
We've got some a wide variety of items in there.
You guys like cassettes now? He's got cassettes.
Got cassettes.
You like CDs?
Got that.
All these nostalgia items like DVDs. He's got piles of them.
I have a few 8-tracks, but we're keeping those just for souvenirs.
It's and then I took the tour of the hallowed halls is the only word to describe all the pictures. You guys have done a great job here of preserving your legacy.
I'm surprised that we did. A lot of it happened by accident, but after we started releasing product on our own, it became really evident very quickly that we need to document when the artists are in the studio. And of course, we controlled the photography and layouts for the albums and all that. So we did wind up with a lot of pictures, and thankfully we did.
When you say you want to document their visits to the studio, what are the other ways that you document it?
Well, when the artists come to the studio to record, they're usually here for several days, and we sit and talk with them, and then we go in the studio, and if it's a project we're working on and the artist is a singer, we'll go in and go over the songs that we're planning to record. We'll have notes that we've done from that, lyric sheets, lead sheets for the musicians and so on. Getting ready for the session, we go over quite a bit of that. And sometimes we would take snapshots and
then when you wrap up this recording, you guys keep all these records here. And I see so many filing cabinets, by the way. A lot of people don't remember what those were.
I haven't shown you the tape vault yet, but that's where the tapes are stored, our master tapes. We recorded in the beginning, first started in late 67. All the way through 68, we recorded on a 4-channel Ampex recorder and mixed down to a mono single-track Ampex. At that time, just about all the records released were mono, not stereo. Later, we went from 4-track up to 8-track and recorded our first hits on an 8-track recorder. And that's a 1-inch piece of tape on a big reel.
I saw it.
And those tapes, later on, the 8-track, we went from 8 to 16, so that's a 2-inch piece of tape. And then from 16 track, we went to 24, but that's just on the same 2-inch piece of tape. It's not more narrow channel strips. But the tapes are all stored, all the master tapes, the mix down tapes, all that they're in our vault in the back. It's quite large. The vault back there is bigger than the studio. So
this is probably one of the largest studios I've had a chance to visit. And when I say that studio, I mean, the whole, the size of the compound here.
They're all kind of studios. This one is probably an average one. I would say average on the upper end. There are thousands of studios around that are no bigger than this control room.
Yeah.
And today with digital recording, it's easier to work in smaller spaces with digital recording because you don't have the huge machines that analog requires.
I've had an incredible tour here, and y'all offer these to civic groups, people traveling. If somebody wanted to come to Jackson and tour this, what would be the easiest way?
Call the main number and set it, and they'll call me and we'll set up a time. Now, the tours, the organized tours that come through with tour groups, at first we didn't charge. At first, we had very small tours coming through. But with organized tour groups, it got to be so frequent that we would actually have to book the studio. They may book it 2 or 3 months in advance for Harvard University alumni. And if I don't go ahead and book it, then something might bump it from a studio session going on. So we charge a small fee for them to come. But we provide donuts and coffee and listen to music and entertain them for a couple hours. And that's been picked up a lot over the last 10 years. But usually in the summer, we have quite a few tours.
I've got to put the hard sell on people that this is really something to see. And I feel qualified to say that because in my work and my interest in this, I've gone to see Stax. I've gone to Motown, and I've been down to Fame, and I've been to Muscle Shoals and everything else. So I'm becoming a bit of an aficionado on the studio tour.
That's pretty good too.
And there's so much here about the artists that you've worked with and about the building blocks and the origins of everything you do here. I want Wolf Stephenson to tell my listeners, if you were to describe Malaco Records and its genre of music, break it down for me.
We have, since the beginning in the late 60s, concentrated on blues, Southern soul, and blues music, mostly black-oriented music, and soul gospel. Now, we've done other projects in between all of that as well, quite some nice ones. But at the time we started, my partner Tommy Couch and I, we were social chairman at our fraternity at Ole Miss, and we always liked to book the popular black bands. Fantastic to watch and made a good party. And that's kind of what we started out with when we kind of backed into the recording business down here. The recording part of the studio of our business is the studio. And the thing about Malaco Records or Malaco Studios, it doesn't stop at the studio. A lot of studios, especially in Nashville, where there are quite a few, they are strictly on a rental basis. We will rent our studio, but it doesn't happen very often. What we use the studio for is a production tool to sign an artist, choose the songs, hire the musicians, do the recordings, go through those and do the final mixes, get the photographs of the artists done while they're here, and take that on through manufacturing and distribution. So rather than just a studio, it's Malaco Records. It's just that. It's a record company that happens to own a studio.
Because that's not always the case.
Absolutely not. Most frequently not the case.
Especially in modern times.
There's so many rental studios around. If we were renting studio time as frequently as studios in Nashville or any other major city, Memphis, New Orleans, LA, and such, we wouldn't have time to do the rest of the work it takes to get a record from the recording through the artwork and graphics you already need, and nowadays the mastering and so on. Everything it takes to get it from what we hear in here to what somebody can hear online or get it on a CD or whatever. So we're doing the whole thing rather than just the studio part. Yeah. It's the first part of it, but the rest of it is what we've been doing.
Is there any entity out there doing that, being that comprehensive right now like Malaco is? I'm curious. I don't know the answer.
There may be. There were a few at one time. Most of them are gone. There were a couple in New Orleans that did that. But mostly it's people that rent a studio and then take their project into the manufacturing and such. The big labels, of course. Now, the big labels, they may own 2 or 3 different studios, but still, we're small enough that we can do the business of post-production, which is getting the artwork done, the photographs, the mastering, and the manufacturing. and the distribution. That's quite a task for any company, is to handle the distribution. We didn't do distribution for a number of years.
What year did you start doing that?
We became a totally independent label in late 1979, early 1980.
Yeah.
We were distributed by TK Records in Miami from 76 until 1979. We had a big hit on Dorothy Moore from Misty Blue, and we'd put it out on Malaco label because none of the major labels would pick it up. There was a record pressing plant in Coldwater, Mississippi, believe it or not. So we had records pressing. We just did a 45 release on Misty Blue. Well, it got so big so quick that we immediately knew it's above our capability to take the best, get the best out of it. If you can't manufacture and can't distribute the record, get it to the record shops, on the radio and all this stuff, and then get paid for doing that, you're going to be out of business pretty quick. And it's a ton of stuff of things to do to organize and get all those steps happening. We can handle the recording part without any problem. Doing that on our own time and our own schedule. And okay, we got this project.
That's the fun part.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The rest of it is just grinding out work. The studio part is quite fun. It's been 58 years of fun for me. And I've learned all the other parts along the way, as we all have out here. But that's the big difference in Malaco and just another studio. We have the studio, we have the record label, then we have the publishing company, and it just keeps growing from there.
There's a great book on the subject called The Last Soul Company. The writer's name, I'm trying to remember.
Rob Bowman?
Yes, Rob Bowman.
He wrote the book on Stax as well.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Soulsville, USA was his. He's quite a writer.
Yes, I can't wait to read it. It's been on my list, but I've been busy, and I can't wait to read it. And all this is out there. And I want everybody to know that Malaco Records has an incredible YouTube channel.
We do have several. We got just about everything we have up on.
How many YouTube channels?
5, I think. The biggest surprise in my life was what a huge audience that YouTube has. It's worldwide, and you have to think about that because it is worldwide.
Yeah.
And nowadays with the digital realm, if somebody sees something on YouTube and says, I want to download that song, well, we get paid a small royalty. But we don't have any manufacturing costs. We don't have any shipping costs. There's no return. It's a different world.
Yes.
And when we found out how effective YouTube was, it was amazing. And that transition from physical sales to mostly digital sales was something that really, we were in fear of that very deeply to start with, but we managed to make the crossover, and it's working fine.
I am in awe of an operation of this size staying under the ownership. I'm sure you've met Hartley Peavy.
Bought Hartley Peavy's first amplifier that he made. I hate the fact, but we sold it a few years after being in business. One of the first ones he ever made. Now, he first started in a room above his dad's garage, making them by hand. We've got dozens of Peavy amplifiers all over the place out there.
Yes, you
became very close friends with him.
There's one right over in the corner.
Yeah, and there's several in the store.
Is this considered an amplifier? This big blocks right here?
Yeah, that's the powered subwoofer for the main speakers in here. We call those speakers up there shirt shakers.
Shirt shakers.
Yeah, if you turn them up loud.
So this is also Peavy?
No.
No, okay, I'm sorry.
Those subwoofers are made by Peavy. That's the low frequency portion of the main speakers up here. And we call those the shirt shakers. When you turn them all on and turn them up, it will shake your shirt off.
Oh, when you're sitting here, you can feel it.
Absolutely.
The reason I've never met him, and I likely never will, but he's part of my fascination with the pioneers of Mississippi. Yeah. And the reason why is Peavy, it did go out of business like Dan Electro. It's there, it's still there, it's under the same ownership, and Malaco Records had a lot of changes and tornado and all this other stuff, but it's the last soul company and it's still very much here.
Still here. Yeah.
I think it's incredible how in the modern world that this place is after all of this time.
It's not very common.
It's not. I think it's not common at all.
We have had a few slim years in the past.
Yeah.
Early on, I guess it would have been in the late 70s, mid to late 70s. Tommy Couch and I were taking turns skipping paychecks.
Oh, that was nice of you.
We just didn't have much business going on.
Yeah.
And at that time, we could all go to lunch in one car. So it just weren't many people here working.
Yeah.
And ZZ Hill came along. We had a big hit out of that. So turn things around.
It's incredible. And it's all out there in the book and this incredible YouTube channel that they have. And I want everybody to come to Jackson, Mississippi to see Malaco Records. The tour has been incredible. The costumes and the pictures of all of these artists that you've worked with are a feast for the eyes.
The artists like to dress up.
It's from the golden era of grooming and style, all of this stuff. So today, since there's so much out there, I can't really compete with all this and all this academic stuff and the book written on you. What I want to do today is find out about Wolf Stephenson.
There you go. Okay.
Because I'm so fascinated with the story. I'm going to remind you and also my listeners that we knew each other because I was Leslie's contemporary in school at Span Elementary. Am I remembering that?
Absolutely.
Yes, Span Elementary.
I remember those days very much.
I knew her cousin Lucretia.
My cousin on my side of the family.
Yes. I went to school with Leslie, Lucretia, and John, your son, who is maybe 4 years younger than me or 5.
Yeah, that'd be right.
Yeah, and we all went to the skating rink.
John got in trouble there a few times.
We'll have to get that off camera and find out what it was. But I knew the family, and I would go. I remember our 6th grade graduation. You had a pool party at your house. Do you remember? And I would go there, maybe sleepovers and things like that. And every now and then, Leslie would bring me over here. We're going to go to work with Dad today. Yeah. We got to look around this kind of thing. And of course, however old I was, 11 or 12, my eyes, my dad's office did not look like this.
It was different for sure.
Also, you look like a music producer and engineer.
Well, I didn't look like that to start with because I left the practice of pharmacy. Believe it or not, my partner and I both, Tommy Couch and myself, both have a degree in pharmacy. He had the studio bug from very early age as he grew up around the Muscle Shoals guys in North Alabama. Columbia is constituted by Florence, Alabama on the north side of the Tennessee River. The college is over there, the University of North Alabama now. On the south side of the river is Tuscumbia, Sheffield, and Muscle Shoals. Tuscumbia and Sheffield are both old towns with old established downtown areas. But they just happen to be right up next to each other. Muscle Shoals is on the east side of them, but Muscle Shoals was always an industrial district due to the Tennessee River Valley dams that were built.
That's right.
Big, huge dam right there at Muscle Shoals, Wilson Dam. And the Tennessee River dams generated ungodly amounts of power. And the, I think, late 30s, Henry Ford and Henry J. Kaiser were going to make Muscle Shoals the Detroit of the South.
This is fascinating to me because I've made 2 trips down there in the last couple of years to see the studios and learn things. And I've been telling people, it's not a small town.
No, it's not.
It had an airport.
I used to fly up there back and forth.
It's a city. It's a real city. And it's they call these things Tri-Cities.
It was Tri-Cities because of Florence, Sheffield, Tuscumbia. That's the Tri-Cities. Muscle Shoals, again, was an industrial district before it was incorporated into the town, but it does not have an old established downtown section. It's commercialized. But if you go out in the boondocks, you can see perfectly straight laid out city blocks with concrete paved roads that Henry Ford and Henry J. Kaiser engineered getting all that done because they were about to build the biggest automobile manufacturing plant in the world.
Are they still there? Those neighborhoods are just sitting there like
the road is still there, but now finally, after all these years, it's being built up.
I had no idea. Now I want to jump in the car and drive down there again.
I asked somebody once, I keep seeing these roads that turn off the main road out here and they go out into the woods. And somebody finally said, you need to read the history about that. And I did. And that's what it was.
That's incredible. And anyway, so Tom asked where Tommy was from.
Yeah. And that was the initial seed for the Malaco records. Was Tommy grew up with those guys. I met him through Tommy while we were both in college, strictly by chance. Tommy moved to Jackson when he graduated. His wife's family was living here. They moved to Jackson, got a job in a drugstore. He graduated a semester ahead of me, totally by chance. I started looking for a job toward the end of my last year and went to Memphis and several other places, 10 or 12 other cities. And
were you looking for work and also quality of life?
I didn't know what I was doing there. Well, my parents died when I was in high school, so
Oh,
I was sort of lost.
yeah.
The Pike fraternity at Ole Miss meant so much to me, but it just formulated the rest of my life. You know, I was married the last year up there, and I don't know if either one of us realized what life was going to be all about. By chance, drugstore in Columbia, Mississippi, where our hometown, my wife and I's hometown, Columbia. I worked in a drugstore there, delivering prescriptions on a moped. The pharmacist there called me and said, "I understand you're looking for a job. You need to call this drugstore in Jackson. Pharmacist is leaving and they're looking for a pharmacist." And he said, "I think you might be interested." So I called Beeman Drugs in Jackson, Mississippi.
Which location? I remember that being met.
Maywood Mark. It was Beeman Brent to start with, because Beeman was in partnership with Alvin Brent at Brent's Drug. So it was first Beeman Brent, then it went just to Beeman Drugs. But it was Beeman Drugs when I came there. And when we came here in '66, there wasn't hardly anything on that section of Ep.27. Oh yeah, we had a soda fountain, a full front end, all kind of cosmetics, the whole shooting match. And I went to work there, bam, right out of school. And at that time, it had a really good starting salary. And
why did you decide to pursue pharmaceutical?
I didn't have any idea what I wanted to do. I was kind of blowing in the wind. My first cousin from Columbia also had gone to pharmacy school. I said, well, I'd worked in a drugstore delivering prescriptions.
Yeah.
And I didn't have any guidance whatsoever other than maybe I'll try this. But I'd been an electrician all the way through high school and many other things. But why choose pharmacy? Because my cousin chose pharmacy. And I said, well, I got to do something. Try pharmacy school. And I did not have any problem with the studying, the curriculum at all.
I can tell why.
Well, my father was a school teacher, so I tell everybody I went to school 7 days a week. And he taught science and math and that kind of stuff. So
I am in awe. When you told me that you had taught yourself to be what do you call this, a journeyman's electrician?
Yeah. I had a summer job and for an electrical contractor, just starting out as a helper. And pretty soon he said, well, I'm going to send you out to this job over here by yourself. And I said, oh my God, now what? And it just picked it up. And
pioneers of electricity is the way I think about this. And I don't know if you know this, but Nathan Daniel, who founded the Danelectra Corporation, was also a tinkerer who got fascinated by electronics as a young person who taught himself everything.
I built shortwave radios when I was a kid.
That's what primed you to do all of this.
Could be.
I think so.
Yeah.
Because I keep finding this history of the pioneers of electricity, because electricity was a lot younger then than it is now.
It's a fascinating story. And there's one man that didn't get all the credit for many inventions that he invented or came up with and just said, okay, somebody else will fiddle with that. Nikola Tesla. That man, I've read a lot about him, and he was amazing. The shortwave radio, the transmission, Marconi, he already knew how to do that. Fluorescent lights, he knew how to do that. Electric motor, every electric motor used in this country today, Nikola Tesla invented that motor. Alternating current, AC current, the power transmission lines in the country. He came up with that.
So if you were already such an accomplished electrician in terms of hours of doing it, you worked as an electrician when you were in high school?
And through college. In summers in college, yeah.
Why didn't you pursue that?
I really don't know. I started pharmacy school, and not long after I enrolled in Ole Miss, I was placed to Pike fraternity and got into that. And I didn't have problems much with studying for the classes. I got dissed a lot because I didn't have to study and everybody else was cramming and I was.
There was another person that had this in common. My father, he sailed all through school. He graduated from high school at the age of 16. Go ahead.
I didn't think about electricity or being an electrician or following in electronics. I probably could have, but I didn't have a lot of guidance, so I just stayed with pharmacy. And if I'd gone somewhere else, maybe I would have stayed with it. But after I wired up the first Malaco recording studio myself, Tommy and his brother-in-law had rented, and got that done. Then some of the equipment came in. And, well, how do you hook it? I said, okay, I'll I'll hook that up to and run the mic cables. And well, how does it work? And I say, well, like this and like this. And then I go back to the drugstore for a while and I'd sit there thinking, what are they doing at the studio? And after a while, I said, you know what? That might be a lot more fun than counting pills.
Yeah.
Tommy had done the same thing. He eventually quit pharmacy and started full time, and not long after that, I did. We both kept our pharmacy license current for 15 years after that. You had to do
just
yearly
in case,
tests.
CYA.
Yeah, just in case.
In case this rock and roll thing or this music thing doesn't work out.
After about 15 years of that, we looked at each other because this thing came up every year. You had to do the test.
Did you have to go and then you had to probably pay fees to maintain that?
You had to pay a fee, but there was a Southeastern Regional Pharmacy Journal that came out quarterly. And each one had a test in the back, a multiple choice test, but it wasn't just, okay, I can do this. You had to read the magazine because it was specifically focused on news things that were coming out in the magazine. So you had to read it. And of course, being a pharmacist, we could figure it out.
It's a competency test to make sure that you're not going to set people's places on fire.
You got to keep up with the changes because changes were coming all along it.
Imagine.
So he would do it one time and I would do it the next, and we'd swap our answers and kept our license current. That was continuing education requirement to keep the license current. And after a while, we just said, would we go back to pharmacy if this blows up? No, probably not. We don't think it's going to blow up, so let's just, okay.
Did you see yourself as an entrepreneur? Like, this is a good opportunity because you don't play music. Wolf does not play an instrument. No. He plays a stereo, just like me and Jimmy Carter. Which is great and astounding that you are the producer and engineer and you do not play. I
wish that I had public school music teachers. I don't know how long they had those, but when I was in 5th and 6th grade and such, they had a public school music teacher that came around once a week to teach the kids about music. And they would give a competency little thing to see how much the people knew. So they sent a note to them. Your son really needs to take piano lessons and such, and he said, he's going to play football. Don't worry about that.
That's typical.
So
they should have sent the note to your mother.
Yeah, probably so. But he was a football coach and a school teacher.
Did you end up playing football?
I played 5 years.
What was your position?
The roughest one, tackle.
Are you kidding me?
My teammate that played was a year ahead of me in school. Big Jim Dunaway went on to play for the Buffalo Bills.
Did he play at a state university in Mississippi before that?
He was a big star at Ole Miss, yeah. Drafted right out of Ole Miss. He weighed 275 pounds in high school and was the fastest man on the team. And I played the same position, except I was the number 2 tackle. And him playing tackle was not a problem for him.
I bet you were fast too.
Not as fast as him.
Wow.
I mean, he would outrun all the running backs. He could outrun everybody on the team. But anyway, I played behind him, and then the next year after he went on to Ole Miss, everybody that he'd beat up, I was playing against the same people. So,
oh my!
I played against some of the best players in the state, and held my own. I'm
astounded to find that out because
I had a scholarship to go to play, and my parents died, and I was kind of bouncing around. And I didn't take advantage of it soon enough. I played 1 year.
Do you still enjoy football? Okay.
I did play one time. In my football career at the University of Mississippi, I was totally undefeated.
Oh, wow.
I only played one game.
Yeah. Do you remember which it was?
The pharmacy school versus the law school.
Really?
Called the Murder Bowl.
I didn't know that even existed.
It doesn't anymore, but it was a yearly thing, and the law school always won hands down.
Really?
And my senior year up there, a bunch of us got there. There were several people in pharmacy school that had played a little bit of football. So we said, why don't we kind of see how many people we can get together? So we came up with about 20 people that had enough knowledge about football to where we could carry on a decent game. Unbeknownst to the law school, we checked out equipment and practiced full pads for about 6 weeks. I've never been so sore in my life.
Y'all were determined.
And we practiced in an area where nobody knew where we were. It wasn't out in the open. So the law school had no idea what we were doing. They would go up to Holly Springs to the hole-in-the-wall bar and have their practice, drinking beer or whatever.
And y'all in the deep.
So here comes the Murder Bowl. Played on the Ole Miss field and in the Ole Miss dressing rooms and all this kind of stuff. And we'd been working out for 6 weeks and got back in fairly good shape.
Insane.
So the game started, and at the half, it was 28-0. Okay, we went in and said, "Okay, guys, they're gonna be coming hard at us." Went out after the half, and most of them were sitting on the bench over there throwing up because they were just sick from exertion. But the second half, the president of the Pike fraternity in our chapter was in law school, and he was playing directly across from me. And then David Wilson, he just passed away a little while back. But he came up to me about somewhere in the middle of the third quarter, and he'd come up and he said, "Oh man, Wolf, don't hit me anymore. I promise I won't tackle anybody."
Do y'all have make a gentleman's agreement?
He wouldn't get out of the way. They were so tired. Our practicing had put us in enough shape to put on a pretty fair game, but they were just all out of shape. But
y'all really wanted it, didn't you?
Oh yeah. I don't know what happened after that, but 49-0 was the score at the end of the game.
49-0?
Yeah.
And they were confident they were going to walk away with it. So you call that a pounding, I believe.
Yeah.
I'm in awe of that.
That was a highlight of the year.
I'm so glad that you didn't get injured and your hands and everything are in great shape.
I'm still playing for years that I played.
Yeah, it's tough on you.
A few injuries that are showing up later, but nothing terrible.
So did y'all consider yourselves entrepreneurs? Because I find your story, when you tell me that Tommy caught the bug from these other guys, it's not just a love of music. It's also, hey, that looks like a great business idea. This is a burgeoning business, which was American music.
Absolutely.
And for you, that's just being smart vocational.
All through college, Tommy was the social chairman at the fraternity ahead of me, and I was the social chairman behind. We in charge of all the parties.
Gotcha.
So we knew about booking bands, we knew about dealing with musicians, and he knew the music guys at Muscle Shoals from growing up. So had a little bit of knowledge about the business, but we were rookies to start off with. But I guess people start off in a new business, most of them are anyway.
I have a question for you. You were talking about working with Black musicians, then blues for these fraternity parties, or blues and R&B.
Right. We don't absolutely had to be Black, but we had a lot of the best Black bands in the Southeast come to our party.
Yeah, I bet that is an incredible list of people.
Yeah.
Wow. The reason why I ask is there's so much to learn about blues in Mississippi for the academic. Even though I grew up here, I'm still learning. And somebody sent me a picture of a Mississippi blues man, and I can't remember which one, and he was mostly known for acoustic. In this picture, he's playing a old Silvertone, and it has a Sigma Alpha Epsilon sticker on it. Did they have a Sigma Alpha Epsilon at Ole Miss?
Yeah, there was SAs.
And they identified the picture as being taken in Greenwood, and I don't know if it was or if it wasn't. And do you know who that might have been?
Trying to remember. Mississippi Fred, for years, he came to play our parties, afternoon parties before the football game. And we had no idea that he was known worldwide at the time.
That's amazing.
And he spent his days helping them pump gas at Stuckey's. And we'd get calls from all over the world at Stuckey's in Como, Mississippi.
He says Como, Como, and it's just south of...
North of Batesville. It's just south of Saratoga.
It would have been this kind of small town where people would share phone lines and resources.
Very much. It was very small.
Yeah.
The blues markers all over the state. We've got one out front. There was one erected in Como for Fred McDowell, and I went up for the ceremony, and Bonnie Raitt was there. I'd met her a couple of times, but just in the passing. We had a nice visit there and talked about Fred and this, and she said, "I'm so glad y'all did that album on Fred." She said, "Fred taught me how to play slide guitar." I said, "What?" She said, "Yeah, I thought I knew how to play slide guitar until I saw Fred play." And she said, "He just spent 2 days with me at the Ann Arbor Blues Festival, and I learned some things to do that I still do today." He was that well known all over the world, and just as humble as you could.
You remind me a little bit of the Hartley Peavy story, because I believe he also was getting his beak wet in music at Mississippi State, I believe.
That's right, Mississippi State, yep.
And he was booking things. And am I right? I mean, he wanted to be a rock star, and then he also decided to get into electronics.
He played guitar, yep.
Yeah.
And he's didn't like the amp that he had, so he decided to build him one. And somebody saw it and said, "Hey, can you build me one of those?" And did another couple. Then he started above his garage, and somebody told him about it. Somebody told us about him right after we had opened the studio, and we were still looking for equipment. And we bought an amp from him, one of the first commercial ones they ever made. Wish I still had it. It'd probably be worth a lot more than I paid for it.
Yeah. Okay, you said your wife, Catherine, your family calls her Khaki. I love that name.
Grandkids got that start.
I love it. Did y'all know each other in Columbia?
Oh, yeah.
And then were y'all high school sweethearts or?
4 years older than she is.
Okay.
But she was a youngster when I started dating her. She was 14, almost 15.
Okay.
And so we dated for a little bit and then get a little further along and got married. She was 18 and I was just turned 21.
Oh. And she accompanied you up there when you went to school?
Oh, yeah. We got married after my fourth year in college, before fifth, pharmacy school with a 5-year course. So in the summer of 65, we got married and I had one more year. So we went up there and lived in the married students' house.
I was just about to ask because I remember the married dorms at so I went to Southern Miss and I remember, I love the story of Wolf and Khaki.
It's quite a story.
I'm going to tell my listeners and anybody from my point of view that when I would go to Wolf's house, I guess I would have been in the 70s to visit Leslie, I recognized you as a single father. John and Leslie were there, and that's why you're kind of hip and like, oh, he didn't go to the office in a suit like my dad did every day. They had a bitchin' stereo and a swimming pool and a modest house. Was that Heatherwood subdivision? Was that still Heatherwood, or what did they call that?
No, it's off of Briarwood Drive.
Yeah.
I don't remember if it had a particular name.
Yeah.
Just off of Briarwood and just a little bit off of Briarwood and Ridgewood Road intersection.
Yeah, it was kind of the back end of the neighborhood. I had lots of friends around there, including the Coreys. I'm sure you knew the Coreys, who were right down the road. When I bumped into John and you and your family in Nashville, and I was introduced, and I remembered you. You look like you always did. And I said, "Hi, it's so nice to see you again. Do you remember me? I would come to see Leslie." And then Khaki was introduced to me as your wife and the kid and the mother of John and Leslie, who were there at the family wash.
And you had trying to figure that out.
Sitting there going,
what happened?
Did they keep her in the closet when I would go to visit their house? So I want you to tell me. It's a wonderful one of my favorites.
For whatever reason, and in the late 70s, we moved in that house in early 78 or late 77, trying to remember. Probably early 78, and I'll take all the blame if there's any to be around, because the business I was in, with all hours of the night in the studio, this, that, and the other. But for whatever reason, things didn't go well, and she wanted to leave. I said for a while, I talked to a couple people, and they said, it's going to be grief if you try to make everything go exactly like you want it, then it may not happen after all anyway. So I said, eventually I agreed. I said, the kid's going to stay here. I didn't think she'd leave if I said that, but she did. And I'm not holding any of this against her, because I've had some tough times as well. So she left and moved away. So that's when I had the kids by myself for quite a while. And she remarried. And after about 9 or 10 years, I remarried. Not the greatest decision I've ever made, but I did. I mean, I'll take the blame for it. So after 7 years, she moved back to Jackson.
Where did she move to when she moved?
First, she moved to North Carolina and back to Jackson for a while. That marriage went away. Lived in Jackson for a little while. She was working for Philip Morris as a sales rep. Got transferred to Covington, Louisiana, and lived down there. So she married again. The marriage that I was in was, after a couple of weeks, I said, "What did you do?" Not because, just because I didn't think I should. I thought I should not have done that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not blaming anybody else but me. So her job in Covington, she married a guy. She was one of the guys working with her, and they eventually moved back to Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
So that was rough.
Her being back in town.
Yeah. I mean, every time I see her, I just couldn't stand it. It's too much. So in late 92, I guess, early 93, she told me some things that kind of led up to this, but my daughter Leslie had moved to Jackson, or had an apartment, had a condo. She and John wouldn't live in the house with the lady I was married to. I'm sorry, but that's the way what happened. Leslie would call and said, "Dad, do you have any hamburger meat?" "Yeah, I've got some free. Could you bring it by the apartment?" And I'd bring it by her condo, and there was Catherine.
Did she plan this, or was it an accident?
There was some scheming going on between Leslie and Catherine. Catherine told me that she had let Leslie know what she was thinking about. And it went right over my head. No, do you have so and so? Could you bring something more about that? And she was there again.
You kept waiting for that call to get a call for to deliver food.
Well, I missed it. I totally missed it.
Yeah.
Because honestly, every time I saw her, my heart would just break. So a few days later, I'm at work and I get this call, frantic. "Yeah, I have to talk to you. You have to come to Lester's right now. I have to talk to you." "What's wrong?" "Come right now. You have to come right now. I have to talk to you." I said, "Oh, God, what's happening?" I had no idea what was going on. I might get emotional for this. I got there and knocked on the door. I opened the door and there she was, all dressed up and everything. And the first thing she said was, "I want my family back." That was it.
Asking you shall receive.
"You got it." And we both pulled the ripcord. She was still married. I was still married. She bailed. I didn't hurt that wasn't too much trouble. Mine cost me $250,000, but like James Stroud, our first drummer that we had, he went on to be a big producer in Nashville. He had about 6 marriages. He was holding the record up there for a while. He was down here on one occasion. I said, "Man, what about your divorce?" And he said, "Oh man, it cost me $3 million, but it was worth every penny."
My uncle made a similar comment as he was leaving the Jackson courthouse after one of his divorces. But I got the story, but I love the additional detail because I believe it was Leslie or John told me that Leslie was trying to help with the engineering of this reconnection.
Well, and Catherine had sworn her to secrecy, but I missed it. I just right over my head.
And
but I didn't miss it the last time.
Hey, this was some very brave stuff going on there, especially when you talk about matters of the heart to come back.
Absolutely.
Well, it blew my mind, and I've been telling people this story. I think this happened. Maybe was this maybe 2015 or 2016 when I ran into you. And everywhere I went, I was like, "Did you know this?" The whole time I was growing up, I thought he was a single father. It's the kind of story that every romantic wants to believe in, and it is completely true. And we just got it on the record. 17 years you were divorced?
17 years.
I mean, apart from each other. Yeah. Now, Kaki will always recognize her cumulative anniversaries.
60. We just recreated our 60-year honeymoon trip this summer down into Florida.
So if you hadn't have had that separation, it would have been 60 years.
And 25 this year.
So without the 17 year.
65, 65 to 65, 25, that would have been 60 years.
And so that was in 92. What was your approximate age of that time?
92, I would have been, I was born at 43, so 93 would have been 50. It was right before my 50th.
I'm well over that now, and you think you're old when you're that age, but now you...
82 is not too bad.
That really is the story for the romantics and also longevity of the staying young at heart and staying open and the possibilities of love.
It just keeps getting better every day. Wake up in a dream sometimes, but I'm pleased to be there.
But you built it. You didn't dream it up. You made it happen. Well done, Leslie. Congratulations. That's real engineering.
Yeah, absolutely. She should have had a stick in her hand and said, "Listen to me, damn it."
Well, love it. I'm charmed by her.
Sweet girl. She certainly stood by me all the years.
Yeah. I want to know more about Wolf Stephenson. When I first started at Malaco, as far as a recording engineer, there wasn't one in the house. Mm-hmm. But the equipment had arrived, and nobody seemed to know how to operate it. Excuse me. And nobody seemed to know how to operate it. So I picked it up,
pretty much.
Mics, panel, all these things, they show up and you figure out.
It was not nearly as complicated as this. The first console we had was really basic, but it was equal to anything around in studios like ours at that time. So I would help with a tape machine, and we had a guitar player, musician guy that was really, really great working for us or with us at the time. And Tommy Senior was doing a little bit of engineering as well. But as time went along, I was more and more involved in placing the microphones and doing this and doing that and watching everybody that was doing anything, tried to learn.
Did you call people for help when you were trying to, or I'm astounded in your ability to teach yourself these things.
We had the great fortune to have all the guys at Muscle Shoals.
Yeah.
If we had a question about anything, not necessarily technically, but aesthetically, where do you move the mic to make the guitar sound better and this, that, and the other? How do you do this? And it took me several years to realize that although I was getting a really good drum sound, most of it was because I had a really good drummer. And after he left, we started getting drummers come in. I said, man, what's wrong? What am I doing wrong? It was the player. I learned a lot. I learned how to set the drums up, but every drummer may have one lick that he plays different than the other guy.
Yeah.
And you have to get used to the fact that their dynamics is so changing from what it's such a dynamic instrument.
Yeah.
That if they have one little move that's different, it's totally different from the last guy.
Okay.
If they hit the drum with so much force, I'm adjusting to that. And the next guy comes along and hits it with about a half as much force, and everything sounds different. Not just that drum, but everything in the set sounds different. Because with a drum set, you can't isolate everything in there unless you're doing it on computer sampling. You just have to learn how to operate. You go in there and listen to the player first. I mean, really get down close and see, okay, he's hitting this drum harder than he's hitting the other. So move that microphone back a little bit. Just experimenting like that. And really the guys at Muscle Shoals, the few times that we went up there, I would watch like a hawk everything that they did. They were the tops, and it was one of the top rhythm sections in the country at the time. So we got a lot of hints from them.
Wow. So do you think that you have especially good hearing? The reason why I'm asking this is I'm thinking about all the research that I've done to capture these Dan Electro instruments and to identify them on recordings. And I'm starting to give myself a credit for having a pretty good ear to be able to hear things. Now, you can have good or bad hearing, and then also how much you focus on it.
Sure.
And you train it. And for you to look at this drum kit and get down there on all fours trying to figure out where the mic is, but your ears are your greatest asset, right?
Absolutely. And after a while, I realized that the musicians were depending on me to make their instrument sound good or to make their performance come off like it should. For the vocalist, should I do that line again? What do you think about that one? And after a while, I said, well, I got to be brave enough to say what I thought about it. Maybe we could do it another way. Okay, let's try it.
That makes you the listener. And I've been telling people in the time I've been doing this that I'm the listener. And that's what I want to be. I don't play guitar. I'm a listener. Somebody needs to listen, especially in a town like Nashville where everybody is in the music business or pretends to be. And I go, no, I'm just a fan. I'm a listener.
I'm lucky in several ways. I'm lucky in several ways to have been working with really talented musicians. We used a lot of the Muscle Shoals guys when we started. Jerry Puckett, our guitar player from Jackson, he's no longer with us, but he was an absolute superb musician, guitar, piano, just about anything, and had perfect pitch and so on. James Stroud, the drummer we had, was total fluke that he showed up over here on our big sessions because the drummer we had booked showed up a day before. He told us he wasn't going to be able to make the session. So we called James, he lived in Boulder City at the time. We called him on Jerry Puckett's suggestion to see if he could get off and come over and play on the session that weekend. It was the most important session we've ever done. But Groove Me, Mr. Big Stuff, and 4 or 5 other hits off that weekend. So he came over. That was his first time here. And I was partly involved in engineering at the time, but as time went on, I knew how to adjust the tape machines, get the azimuth right, and this frequency and that, and kind of knew how the electronics in the console worked, or at least could figure it out. And slowly, especially from the time that we went from 8-track recorders on 1-inch tape. We moved to the other end of the studio and built a separate control room. Because the 16-track recorder and the new console was way too big for the funky little control room we had. Once we went to 16-track and a different console, I went to MCI Factory in Fort Lauderdale and sat with the engineers and everybody down there when they were finishing our product and looking at the tape machine and trying to figure out what turns up and, okay, if this shows up, how to work with that. So I kind of learned how to service all the equipment, and at least the common things that would happen. And a little bit after that, there were other things started happening, and Tommy Sr. went more into the business and negotiation and sort of dealing with getting things ready and then getting things going after the session. So then I wound up being the engineer, the only engineer for a number of years. And it was rough trying to work all hours of the day and night and with 2 kids at home.
Yes, I'm in awe of that.
I had a housekeeper that was, I couldn't have done it without her. The only bad part was she couldn't drive.
Oh.
She was so damn good. I said, to hell with it, I'm going to pick her up and take her home. But she was afraid to drive.
My father was a single father for a while. He married after the war, and the marriage didn't end well. And he had a son, and he was also utterly reliant on something we would now call a housekeeper. Not a maid, not a cleaning service, a housekeeper. So you knew how to keep your house and everything else in it together.
I was lucky.
Very lucky.
Great.
What was your name?
Orly.
Yeah, it sounds familiar.
Her sister had worked for Catherine and I when Leslie was born. Willie Mae, Orly, and Leora.
Yeah.
3 sisters. But Willie Mae worked for us, and then she was working for somebody else when Catherine and I divorced. I called her first, but she had been working for somebody for years. And she said, but my sister's looking for a job. She said, but she can't drive very well. I said, Willie Mae, right now, I got to have somebody, I don't care if they can walk, drive, or whatever, but I'm going to go get her.
Yeah.
And it worked out great. She loved the kids and babysat quite often when I was doing the late sessions and this kind of stuff. I
mean, these are people that we now recognize as domestic workers, and there's a lot of heritage of this in Jackson. My mom's mother ran a busy insurance company in Grenada, Mississippi, and she also, I don't think my mother considered her the most mothering person. Yeah. My mother was mothered by a Black woman, mostly about my grandmother being busy and running this business and all this other stuff, and wars coming and the Depression. And, my parents were older, and I love hearing that story.
It was a lifesaver for me.
Yeah.
She lived in a fairly rough, not a real rough part of town, but okay. But she was living with a couple of her sisters. They rent the house, whatever. Somebody lost their job or whatever, and she didn't have a place to go. Leslie was in real estate at the time. So I called Leslie up. I said, Orly needs a house. I said, find her one. So we found one right around the corner from where she lived. And she said, yes. I said, no, just go buy it. Tell me how much it's going to be, and we'll buy it.
I love
that.
I
bought her a house, and she stayed right there. After she started working, stopped working, that kid was gone.
Yeah.
And I gave it to her. Deeded it over to her. Worth every penny. I mean, I couldn't put a dollar value on what it meant to have her take care of the kids.
And I'm sure you taking care of her in that fashion was also of equal weight.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah. What an inspiring story. I'm crying right now. This is just amazing. I'm glad to embellish what I already knew about this story.
Well, it's difficult, hard work, long hours, and so on. But the experience is working. What I do in here, so few people ever get to see this. They listen to music and they see an artist and they may see them performing, but they never see them in the studio.
Yeah.
And that's at their either absolute best or they're not confident that I'm doing this right, whatever. And they're depending on me to say, fix this or fix this or fix this.
Yeah.
And each one of the artists is different. It's hard to say that I ever had a favorite because each one of us was different. And we had each one of us. There are a couple of them. I pointed out 1 or 2 pictures that I didn't really enjoy working.
It's a tough business to be an artist. Your job is tough and their job is tough too.
The good ones, the good artists that knew what they were doing and been doing this for a while, they understood.
Yeah.
And therefore, our relationship was sort of self-respect for each other. I loved what they were doing, and they wanted to be sure that I was satisfied that they were doing it right. So
Yeah.
they put the trust in me to get the sound right on the tape. And you develop a deep friendship because of that, even though I would only spend a few weeks at a time with them and then see them 3 or 4 more times during the year, and then we'd do it all over again.
Yeah.
And some, been all over the world with some of them, Montreux Jazz Fest. And
You yourself traveled with them?
oh, yeah, we took 32 people to the Montreux Jazz Festival in 1989.
I had no idea.
A big cruise over to the Montreux Jazz Festival, and B.B. King was on the festival as well. When Bobby Blue Bland came here, he and B.B. were big time buddies. Bobby Blue Bland drove the bus for B.B. King. He was a bus driver.
I didn't know that.
And B.B. would let him get up and sing a few songs on the show. And that's how he first got his start. So he and B.B. were.
Yeah. Did you know B.B. King well at any level?
We were big.
I always tell people I grew up in Jackson, Mississippi, and I used to go see Van Halen at the Coliseum and B.B. King underneath the shed, when they would do those shows at around the livestock center.
Absolutely.
And I tell people this, especially younger people, people interested in Southern music. I'm taking a lap on the experiences that I had growing up and going to George Street Grocery and the Subway.
I saw Stevie Ray Vaughan there at George Street.
Wow.
Not long before he
died. Jackson, Mississippi had a lot going on then when I was growing up.
It was, for a time like this, it was really that.
I bet you Malico had a part in that. I never really thought about that, but to make it a destination for music. Because I grew up seeing all kinds of touring musicians, and I've never been in the music business, but I think to myself pragmatically, we had a circuit here. I can remember ZZ Top being around here too, those guys.
I don't have my phone with me, but
I think it's right there.
you seen that picture?
Here it is,
I don't know, find it, but I'm like, yeah. My son took some pictures.
Oh, Billy Gibbons. Yeah. Just recently you saw him, right? In Nashville or here? In
Nashville. I don't know if I can find the picture, but John can send it to you. They send it there.
I think I remember seeing that.
It's a little club in East Nashville, and Guthrie Trapp.
Yes.
And his two other got three-piece band playing at this little hole in the wall place. Wasn't very big. Wasn't even big in the studio.
The Underdog. Yeah, I think it's the Underdog.
So they got three-piece band playing up here in bars over here, and a lot of people walking around. And way in the back, they had the doors over here. In the back, they had like 2 or 3 seats over here, the fold-down theater seats. They were elevated just a little bit so people could sit, old people like me. And John and I had sat down back there, and people would come in and out, and it's Dad. I said, what? I said, look who just walked in the door. And I said, where? Turned away. I said, well, who are you talking about? He said, right there, it's Billy Gibbons. I said, oh, well, hang on a minute. So I got up and went over and tapped him on the shoulder and turned around and said, hey, Billy, I'm Wolf. And he said, Wolf Stevenson, how you doing?
Amazing.
I said, why didn't you tell me that?
That you knew him?
Yeah.
Did John never knew?
Not really. Yeah. When we were first getting started, we were mastering our product, take the master tapes to Memphis to actually cut the first lacquer disc that was used for manufacturing. So I would take the tape up there to Ardent Recording, and they had a mastering lab there. And that's where I went up, back and forth up there quite a lot. After ZZ Top's really started kicking off good, they started recording everything at Ardent Recording in Memphis, and they'd go up there, stay a month at a time. And I would bump into them in the halls because there's two big studios and then the mastering studio as well. So I just kind of say hi and then pass each other in the hall. So we're up in Memphis one year videotaping the Memphis Blues Association awards banquet and award ceremony in the big room that's upstairs on the Peabody, up on the mezzanine. So we were getting ready, and our truck was down there. We were checking sound, checking video cameras and such, and I had to run outside I guess I was going downstairs or whatever, but I walked out, and here comes Billy Gibbons. And I said, hey, man, what's going on in here? I told him this. He said, any seats left? I said, just happens to be one right by me. And so he came in and sat for a while. I go way back. And not that I could run around with him a lot. Yeah. We knew each other.
Familiar.
He was a big fan
of
ours. He told me that quite a few times.
I can just remember there being scuttlebutt around town. Billy Gibbons bought bought a 300ZX at the Nissan dealership, or, this kind of thing. There were just a lot of luminaries around town. I will say this song "Misty Blue" is an iconic Malaco record.
Absolutely.
And if anybody's listening to this and they don't know what that song is, go listen to it, because
not Joe Tack. Was Joe Tack? I'm showing my age. I can't remember the artist that had it. Male artist that had it out at the time when we were at Ole Miss.
Really?
And it was a kind of a regional hit.
Mm-hmm. Who wrote it?
Bob Montgomery was a writer, Nashville producer and writer, producer, very successful. And it was one of our favorite songs. We'd had Groove Me, Mr. Big Stuff and all that. And our deal with Atlantic Records had come to an end, and we were in a kind of a slump, I guess you'd say. And they didn't renew the distribution deal. So it came time to renew it, and wasn't a lot happening. And we had recorded Misty Blue in 1974, and they turned it down again. They turned on Groove Me, Mr. Big Stuff and all this. So we had this.
That being good for you in the long run, correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So they wouldn't put it out. So we said, well, and this was when things were really getting tight, and Tommy and I were skipping paycheck. So we said, we had people coming in from big labels, several big label owners came through. And it's nice, it's a nice ballad, but, it's black female artist, slow ballad, it's kind of hard to get played, this, that, and the other. Okay, well, what do we do? So eventually we said, we got to put out a record. It's getting real tight. We got to have something. And what do you think? I said, what do you think? Probably the same thing, right? And he said, Misty Blue. And I said, of course. So I drove to Nashville, got it mastered, onto a disc, took the disc and drove down to Murfreesboro, Tennessee to volunteer record pressing, left the disc there. They manufactured.
So you're driving these? Oh, yeah. Wow, you've driven a lot of miles.
My car turned over 100,000 miles. I was crossing the Tennessee River Bridge on that trip. I'll never forget.
I mean, just if anybody's watching us and they don't live in this area, it's 6 hours, over 6 hours from Jackson, Mississippi to Nashville. I drove it yesterday. Things
were so tight, I slept in the car that night.
Yeah.
So took it down to the record pressing plant, came back, stayed at a little hotel right there on Music Row, and went club hopping with a friend of mine who later was a producer of Alabama.
What was his name?
Harold, yeah. Went and picked up the record and brought him back, and it was in November, coming up on December, Christmas playlist season. The radio stations cut back. They'll have to play 10 or 12 Christmas songs on during the season, so they don't play as many other songs. So we'd taken it around, and most of the day, well, maybe we can start playing that the first of the year, such and such. Well, the station here, WRBC, started playing it. I think it's RBC. It may have been it had to be RBC. They started playing it a bit. And right after the first of the year, we had mailed out, 200 or 300 of them to different radio stations, just a single. Right after the first of the year, the radio station here really started kicking it, and one in New Orleans started picking up on it. And I'm not sure where else, but 2 or 3 other areas started really playing a lot. And then we said, oh my God, what are we going to do now?
We'll have to make a record.
Well, manufacturing, we had the records. Now, now we got to have a lot more, and we got to have them manufactured. We got to have them shipped to the distributors all over the country.
Wow.
And they got to have them in the record shops, or the radio station will quit playing it. If they're playing a record and the buyers can't go get that record at the record shop, they'll pull it. They would then. So, it was obvious pretty quick that we were going to have to make a deal. And luckily, we had a music lawyer in New York who had helped us early on. He was fresh out of law school when he did our first deal of some kind. We did maybe the Atlantic deal. I don't remember which. But he was a lawyer for a big distributor down in Miami, Florida, TK Records. TK and the Sunshine Band and all this kind of, it was the distributorship was TK Records. And they had Lattimore and pretty big deal going. He suggested that we talk to them because they had access to pressing and distribution, the whole shoot match, and that one big operation. And they were selling their own records as well. They had quite a few R&B hits at the same time. So we made the deal with them, and it became a huge hit. And they were able to get the sales success in it.
Did it go international? I feel like they have more appreciation for soul in certain intervals in recording history than we did.
Been pretty successful with releases in England and Europe.
Yeah.
Missy Blue was the easy one. It went quick.
It's burned in my brain forever from my childhood. And
Dorothy Moore was a fantastic singer. Is a fantastic singer. And when we started recording, we'd done 3 or 4 songs or recordings on her before that, and actually released one. It didn't do it. Released that one, and it didn't do a whole lot. But we had the musicians set up, came in the studio, and listened to the song and such, and they started playing around with it, and they got the feel, and they started playing, and she sang along with them, and they nailed it. And her first vocal performance, that was it. Did not have to replace one word of it. The only thing we did was at the very front of the song, she does a little hum right there. That's the only thing we added. The rest of it she sang while we did the track, rather than musicians doing the track and her coming back and singing it at a later date. She sang it right along with the musicians when they were recording it.
So you guys were in a slump when that happens.
Yeah.
Bam.
Big time slump.
Make it rain.
That was the second most drastic change, I guess, or maybe the most because it was first. And things went along okay there, but then in late '79, ZZ Hill showed up, and we did recording 3 or 4 songs on him and put out a single that did okay. And we said, okay, we're going to come in and do an album. Did an album on ZZ Hill. Actually would have been in '79, and sold 16,000 pieces.
Mm-hmm.
Enough to where, okay, we'll come in and try another one. And that one we did Down Home Blues on.
Mm-hmm.
And 2 George Jackson songs, Down Home Blues and Cheating in the Next Room.
Mm-hmm.
George Jackson was one of the most prolific writers ever known. It is one of his biggest songs people would recognize, Old Time Rock and Roll.
Yeah.
Bob Seger was a huge, huge hit. But he'd written many, many songs for the folks. He was a big writer at Fame for a long time. He left Fame and went to Muscle Shoals Sound, wrote tons of hits for them. When I'm Being Old Time Rock and Roll was a terrible drop. So much so that he fell out with Jimmy Johnson at Muscle Shoals, and George is so obnoxious. He said, a contract back then. Jimmy Johnson was so mad at him, he sent it to him FedEx, sent him a release. And we found out that had happened, and we said, I don't think so. If he's not signed to anybody, we're going to go get him right now. And we dealt with him for years, having to deal with the drinking problem. He could write the greatest songs you've ever heard. If he'd bring out little demos that were on a cassette, and he'd be sitting there stomping his foot, slapping his knee, and singing the words, and we'd have to sit and try to figure out exactly some of the words we could not distinguish what they were.
Did he compose these on a guitar, or just wrote songs?
He played piano. But most of the people he hung out with, every time he'd have a little piano, somebody would steal it.
Yeah. George
is the only person I know that's ever lost a Mercedes-Benz. I don't mean have it repossessed.
I don't know what I did with it.
He lost it after Old Time Rock and Roll royalties. Old Time Rock and Roll royalties, the Bob Seger royalties started coming in. He got this huge royalty check. Ran out and bought him a Mercedes.
And misplaced it.
And all his hangabouts, he had somebody hanging on his tail all the time. Out roaring one night, somebody took him home, and he didn't know where the car was, and he never found it.
That's amazing.
And when we signed him up, he was in such huge trouble with the IRS that we couldn't pay him. We had to go deal with the IRS. So Stewart, our partner who had joined us in 78, 79, went to Memphis and had a meeting with the IRS up there, and he explained to them, if you will release this guy from not being able to get anything, we will have this debt paid off within a year.
Wow.
We guarantee it. Just let him get a little bit of money along so he can manage. So they went for it, and we signed him up.
Pragmatic approach.
But he still had the drinking problem. And right after we bought Muscle Shoals Sound in '85, a song out of their publishing company, The Only Way Is Up, the name of the song, George Jackson had written that song, and the soul artist, who I'll think of in a minute, had a fairly decent hit on it. And there's an English DJ in London who was a big soul fan of the Muscle Shoals stuff, was having a street dance, playing records on the street, and a street hop.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there was a guy working at a studio right down the street, and he happened to be walking by. His name was Jazz Summer, big pit producer, working on a record on his wife. It was a kind of a disco type biracial, I'm not sure what, but shocking blonde hair, was a hell of a singer. Working on a session. And he walked by when this guy was playing a record on the street, and he heard the song, and he turned around and came back to the DJ and said, "Could you bring that record over to the studio tomorrow?" I said, "I'm producing a record on my wife, and I'd like to consider doing this, recording this song. It was one of our songs.
Wow.
The Only Way Is Up." Yes, and the Plastic Population. That thing came out, and it exploded in Europe. Huge, huge hit.
Massive.
So the disc jockey was so crazy about it. The guy that he came to the States to meet George Jackson and to meet the guys at Muscle Shoals, and I was up there doing a demo with George. George was so drunk. I would book the musicians, book George on Monday. I booked the musician on Tuesday because I knew George wouldn't get there until at least the next day. This one particular time, I had to send somebody to get him because he just didn't show up, and got him to Memphis, and he was in bad shape. We kind of got him where we could get the demo done at least. And I was going to take him back to Memphis. And I took him over there and walked in that little apartment he had and looked around. I said, "This guy's not going to live another 6 months." I said, "George."
Just the condition he was living in.
I said, "Get what you want to take, you're leaving." I said, "George, get everything you want." There wasn't much in everybody's basement. All this hangabouts would steal everything he had.
Yeah.
I said, "Get what you want. We're not going to leave you over here." Brought him to Jackson, took him to my friend, the GI doctor, and said, "Well, he's in pretty good shape considering." So we put him up in a motel for a while and got him a place to stay. And we'd bring him in every 2 or 3 days and do demos. And he was still right, but he was still bad. We put him through alcohol treatment.
Yeah.
3 times. The third time, he found this stuff. And after that, got a car, got him a nice apartment, drives himself, cooks for himself, does fine, comes in and writes for another 15 years, hits on one go. It's unbelievable.
Talent manager. You're also electrician,
babysitter for a drunk musician,
substance abuse counselor.
Yeah, I'm qualified for that. I quit drinking 35 years ago.
Okay. So you could recognize people heading toward trouble.
I had a little problem with a car that was wrecked one time. It was a $100,000 BMW 12-cylinder skyrocket. I don't know who was driving. It couldn't have been me because I was way too drunk, but it seems I was the only person in the car.
Wow.
So I must have been driving.
Oh, my goodness. Was it yours?
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
It was mine. And Leslie paid me a visit a couple of days later, and it was powerful.
Yeah.
And I said, "I might ought to quit this shit." So I quit. "Oh, you got to go to treatment. You got to do this." I said, "No." I said, I know what can happen, and because I've seen it.
Yeah. There's a lot of ways to do it.
I just stopped.
Yeah, you're very self-sufficient.
Well, everybody assured me I couldn't do it, but after a while, I said, "Well, maybe you can." So
to ask you, tell me about your parents died when you were younger. Did they pass at the same time? Was there an accident?
2 accidents.
Wow.
My dad killed in a car wreck between my junior and senior year, and my mother was killed in a car wreck right after my senior year.
Astounding thing to happen to a young person.
Yeah, they were having a hard time, and they just couldn't handle it. But I'm not sure what happened to her. I mean, I know she had a wreck. I tried to investigate it somewhat, but it's impossible. Late tonight, no witnesses, way outside of town. So.
I can't believe your story of resilience. I am in awe.
Well, I had 2 kids that were depending on me, so figured I better.
I'm so glad to know more about it. Is there anything more you want to tell me about your personal story that you would like to contribute to my podcast?
Well, I fully recognize the fact that if I had not met Tommy Couch through the Pike House at Old Meds and been involved in pharmacy school, and he involved in pharmacy school, and strictly by chance moved to Jackson, I might be retired from pharmacy right now instead of still in the music business. And his insistency to create, he and his brother-in-law to create, his brother-in-law went along with him to start with, create Malaco. And of course, I helped with electricity, wiring and building, hooking up the microphones, hooking up the cables, hooking up the console, and all this stuff, this handyman kind of deal. And then every time I had a spare minute, I'd come to the studio when they still getting things rolling. still not even really could be considered as a studio. Did little odds and ends sessions, but then talked them into letting me come to work, and first started keeping the booking agency part going, and then moved into, by default, becoming an engineer. That was probably one of the most influential things in my life. Starting with those 4 years up at Ole Miss.
Wow, what a crazy winding road. And I'm so glad that I intersected with you in fashionable Northeast Jackson.
Absolutely. Of course, in the long run, probably the best thing happened to me was marrying Catherine when she was too young to get married. So,
and then marrying her again.
Yeah.
I've relayed that story in a small version to so many people. And I always joke about tattoos. You might change your mind later. And I've often told the story. I'm like, just think about it, because you might change your mind later.
Absolutely.
Everybody take a deep breath for 17 years. It's a beautiful story. I think the first marriage was a great idea, but some timing issues would be worked out eventually before.
Well, her mother and father were great folks. After my senior year in high school, I had guidance from my relatives. My mother had 4 sisters, and they were all very helpful to me and all this, that, and that, but all that's different.
Yeah.
Your father's gone, then your mother's gone the next year.
And the sudden tragedy of it, too.
It's kind of bleak for a while.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah. There's plenty out there about the business side and how you stayed so current. And I am in awe of your YouTube presence. And another thing I want people to know I'm in awe of about the Malaco story is how you're on this streaming digital thing. And it means a lot to me, because since I've been doing my research and trying to find these tracks with electric sitar, if it wasn't for streaming, I wouldn't be able to hear any of this. I would have to go through spins to find this music. And now it is at my fingertip. And that is a miracle to someone like me who was born in 1967, the same year this recording studio was born. It's a miracle to me.
Think about that. I'm still talking to record producers in Nashville and other places, and I have to stop and think. When I used to say, can I send you a cassette with a song on it I'd like to hear? And so, no, well, can I send you a CD? Well, I don't have a CD player anymore. Because you send me an MP3. And the same way with we do a huge licensing business, as you saw the movie posters on the walls, and for movies and ad agencies as well.
Yeah.
And we've got a girl doing it full time for us now.
Wow.
Those things were something that started very, very slow. And all of a sudden, the word gets out that we've got all this huge catalog to look at. And that part, and the internet part, and the part with YouTube. When Tommy Jr. came along, he started doing the same thing his dad had done, booking bands and then producing a few things and doing a few things at the studio, and started his own little record label, and later came in and we joined together. And after the tornado, we decided it'd be better to have somebody that was a little more up to date on the YouTube and the digital world. And we elected him to be the president of the company, and us still be the board of directors and such. But he's done a wonderful job of that. It's just wasn't around when we started.
Yeah. I'm not cynical about any of this. I think YouTube is amazing. My father passed away in 2007. I think he would have thought it was a miracle.
Oh, yeah.
I put my own content on YouTube. I have 182 subscribers, but I enjoy putting it out there because I can send it to somebody. Here, you want to watch it? I'm going to put our talk on. And I'll say, here, you want to watch it. And I think it's on demand. I think it's so incredible. I am in awe of you keeping this all together, keeping the legacy, all the preservation is there, and then also laser focused on the future. And it was your son, John, who told me when I was saw him in the restaurant one night, how busy you were, and you were getting things digitized, getting things digitized. You're still working on this all the time.
Before we leave, I'll open the door and show you the vault back there and look at the rows and rows and rows of tapes, analog tapes. And we had Savoy, and we bought thousands of gospel masters. When we bought Savoy in 1985, we had shipped down here from Elizabeth City, New Jersey, just outside of New York. Their analog tape masters, phonograph records they had manufactured, cassettes they had manufactured, 8 tracks they had manufactured, 18 tractor trailer loads full of tapes and records and all this. But the master tapes were about half of that.
Wow. And you have these in the vault?
That's what I've been transferring to digital.
Wow.
I started on the earliest one that the numbers, each product has a number on it. And I started, it's the very first, the oldest one. And we got a call from an ad agency. The girl told me, said, we got a video coming in of a spot that this company is looking for music for. She said, they've already got a song on it, but they don't want to use that song. And I said, well, what is it? And she said, well, the song is Oh Happy Day. And I said, how are we going to beat that? She said, they want something that nobody's heard before. I said, we got plenty of those. She said, they want something that's in that bag because they think that if you hear Oh Happy Day, who has not heard that? Everybody's heard that.
Mm-hmm.
And you hear a few bars of it and you go on about your business. But if something comes on, what's that song? And you goes on and goes, and you can't figure out what the song is. You're going to listen to it long. Yeah. So they figured 15, 20 seconds. Got you.
And in today's world, that actually things can go viral like that. One thing I loved about your chat with my old friend Chuck Prophet, I connected you to, is that I listened to it and I thought to myself, the music business has always been tough. Was it ever easy?
It was more fun sometimes than others, but I don't know that it's ever been easy.
Yeah. But now in this modern world, things can just catch up like that. And then all of a sudden you're a Spotify or the YouTube sensation. Things go viral. Bad things go viral, but also good things go viral. And it's a weirdly promising career for a lot of these young musicians that put things out there and just fire.
Absolutely.
In the same way that they used to, in the way that we remember on the radio, it just happens quicker and it's more intangible. You didn't have to ship all those things out and figure out how to get there.
Yeah.
And I bet you enjoy that, right?
Oh, yeah. We used to package records to ship. All of us get in the room and then if there's something going really big, we need to send it out. Because when we first started, there were about 24 big distributors all around the country. Mm-hmm. And there's only a few left now. But we'd have to send out samples, we'd have to send out promotion copies, and then start sending backup orders to record shops somewhere out of such and such. And they would come in every day for it. So here we go. Everybody gets in the
mailing. You told me before we started recording that you were overwhelming the United States Postal Service in the city of Jackson, Mississippi.
We were the largest customer for the U.S. Post Office in Mississippi over National Geographic magazine, who had a printing plant in Corinth, Mississippi, and the post office was in the plant. The reason being, most of ours went out on COD, and that was an extra fee on that. And we'd pay COD and we'd pay the return for the product.
Explain to the young people out there what COD stands for. Cash on delivery. You could order it. This is before electronic payment, and the collector became the mailman in many cases.
That's true.
Yeah.
Money order from the post office.
What's your COD?
In fact, our television direct marketing business caused the post office in Jackson to computerize from sending us the hard copy, paper copies of the money order that we would have to list and then take back for deposit. They started running them all through the computer. They started running all of their money orders through a computer and sending us one check. Otherwise, they'd have to send up baskets full of money order. Yeah.
I love everything that I've always known about this. My flair for music. We attended St. Andrew's Episcopal Cathedral. Have you ever attended services there? Did you ever meet Dr. John Paul, who was in charge of the music there for over 50 years?
Yes.
Yeah, he also did the music at Beth Israel. He was that accomplished. Yep. And he was an Englishman. And I learned a lot about that music in the church. And then my parents were Anglophilic and they were pre-rock and roll. They were disinterested, although they liked some. My dad really loved Paul Simon, but it was classical and jazz. But all this other stuff, I had this amazing youth in Jackson that is all about the mix, as I call it. And it was mixed in the fact that I got on the school bus every day and went from predominantly white area to a black area. I mean, I had an unusual upbringing and it has been very well rounded thanks to Jackson. And Malaco is like a total manifestation of that.
Absolutely.
Gospel, blues. Did y'all ever do anything in disco, really?
Yeah. We had several big disco hits on one on Fern Kenny. 2 disco hits on Fern Kenny was huge in England. And those were the 2 biggest. We had a couple of others, Freedom here at Jackson, Jackson Group. I had some stuff that was really good in that.
And
John Kenny was really big in England.
It's amazing to me that I could go listen to it right now on my telephone if I wanted to. So it's a great time to be alive.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I'm going to wrap it up, but I want to go fetch that electric sitar, which is the original, just to show it on the screen. Absolutely. I told John that was one of the many interesting things, because I had already figured out that y'all probably had one around here or some history with it, because made the assumption that there would be one around here, and John confirmed it.
Yep.
And here it is.
Absolutely.
A vintage Dan Electro, Vinnie Bell, choral sitar. I think she'll have had it since the early 70s. He has confirmed that Reggie Young likely played this here.
Yeah, we got it. Tunes that we heard on the radio that led us to buying this was Reggie Young playing one out at the American Studios in Memphis.
It's a unique instrument, a guitar with a weird sound. Yep. Hey, you're a self-taught engineer. Have you figured out what makes it sound weird?
This right here.
He's got it right, ladies and gentlemen.
Strings are actually making that. Yeah. Aesthetic strings. And how you tune those, I have no idea.
Some people even debate on whether anything really ever picks this up, but who knows? But it's all about that buzz bridge. So tell me a couple of songs that, if you remember, that this might have been used on, or if you remember.
I looked in our label copy files, which are not very good. I didn't have time to go back and pull out some few LPs that we got stored, but I know it played on a song by Dorothy Moore called 1, 2, 3, You and Me. It was on her second album, I think we did. And then I know we used it on Johnny Taylor, and I don't remember the song, but I know we recorded something on Johnny Taylor with it. I'm not going to be surprised to find that there's 2 or 3 others that we would have used it on.
I listen to a lot of Malaco mixes on my drive, and sometimes I have to really listen on earphones to pick up that wiry sound. But
there's one particular cut we did on it that it was the featured instrument in the whole song, and I cannot remember it, and I haven't been able to find it today.
I'll dig it up.
It'll show up somewhere.
I'll dig it up. But here it is, ladies and gentlemen. Yep.
Although it's missing a string, that shows you how long it's been since it's been played.
I love discovering you have one here, because the most important recording studios have a history with this, and so does Malaco.
I mean, it was such a phenomenon when we first heard songs with it on. We said, "What in the world is that?" And we said, "Okay, where can we find one?"
If you were to describe its sound, what would you describe it as?
The only thing I can think of is it's a sitar, and I don't know how else you can describe it.
It's just weird.
There's not another stringed instrument that sounds like it at all. Yeah. It sounds like something somebody would do if they can do it with their fingers, but they can't.
Yeah.
But it's just got that. They can't do it with a wah-wah pedal or stuff like that. It's a little different than all that.
Yeah, it's a weird one, and I cannot wait to go and listen to those songs and also try to discover. I've got a lot of listening to do, because the Malaco catalog, it's one of the largest.
It's big, yeah.
What would it compare to as far as another publishing entity?
Well, for small companies, we're probably one of the largest catalogs for a small company.
Yeah.
Now, the big major labels do have bought up countless numbers of companies like us over the years. Would have much bigger catalogs. But as far as any small independent label, ours is probably one of the biggest catalogs around.
Are you still acquiring things now?
If it shows up and the right opportunity comes along, we do.
Yeah.
Sometimes very small. We've bought probably a dozen little small independent gospel labels, if you want to call it that. That may have 20 releases, something like that. But there are 2 or 3 in there we feel like we sell, so we buy it. If the price is right, we'll go for it.
Are you feeling the interest in Southern gospel right now as a sort of as sort of a building block of American music, soul music, gospel? Little Richard is a prime example. Sam Cooke is a prime
basis for a lot of that, and the recognition that it's slowly growing. Most of our R&B acts came out of gospel.
Yeah, it's a story, and that's why I love learning about all these. And one thing I was delighted to discover when I was growing up, and you'll understand this, when I was growing up in the 70s, very integrated, going to integrated schools, Philly soul. I know every one of those songs. And then when they started getting into something that bordered on disco, I know all of that music, and this is all over it. And so I've been doing a lot of research about Philadelphia, and the reality is that one reason why gospel is so important to the Black community is that in America, that was one place that they could make music safely.
Absolutely. Every one of our big R&B stars had some more than others, but Johnny Taylor, for one, he was a huge gospel star before he started doing soul music. We were all gospel. Johnny Taylor took Sam Cooke's place when he left the gospel field.
Yeah.
And he went into gospel, then later on did the same thing himself. So it's a basis for quite a bit of the soul music that's around.
I was lucky to be raised in the looming shadow of Wolf Stevenson and Malaco Records. Is this a building that's new? Is this?
This is new, yeah.
Yeah, this is a new building.
11 tornado of all days, April 15th, tax day. It's not a huge tornado, but it came right through the parking lot.
Precisely aimed. I'm so glad that the things that survived when.
Yeah, we were lucky. We had about 18 people here.
Physically in the building at
Yeah,
the
I was
time?
right in the middle. I saw the whole thing go apart, and I was sitting in a.
What did that sound like?
People tell you it sounds like a train coming. And before it hits, it does. Because I was in the building, the sirens are going off and all this stuff. And my grandson, bless his son, was in Magnolia Speech School down the road. And I couldn't get him on the phone. And there was a reported tornado close by. So I went out the front door of the studio to look. And I heard the sound. And I said, train coming. And I said, no, the train track's this way. And looked around the edge of the building. And there it was, right behind the building.
You saw it physically?
A couple of trees back then, they were coming all to pieces and just a big black fall. And I said, time to hide. Ran in the front door, ran down the halls, hollering for everybody to take cover. Everybody else had already taken cover. I was the only one running down. I got as far as a cased opening like that going into another part of the building. As what it sounds like then when it hits. If you can imagine a big shop vac running, pouring, picking up nails, because so much stuff was hitting the building on the outside. It sounded like nails and glass and stuff going around in a shop vac.
And pine trees all over Mississippi. Tornadoes just turn them into
toothpick. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It only lasted, a few seconds, maybe 30 seconds of actually passing over. But it took the roof off the building and just most of it.
Were you in a closet? Where did you bunker?
I got in the hallway, an opening like a smaller cased opening than this one right here. And there's no door there, but I sat down and put my feet up on one side and things just fell in around me.
Did you stand up when it was all over and go, I'm here?
I sure did.
Wow. And taking an inventory that no one got hurt.
Kent had run it. He and the two girls that were in the building, in the actual studio building, went into the tape vault. The old building hooked up to that tape vault.
Mm-hmm.
The tape vault was built at that time, almost 30 years, 25 years before the tornado. And it was built to withstand a tornado because it holds their valuable assets, the tapes, the tape master tapes. And it did what it was supposed to. It withstood the tornado. And this building, the studio building, was damaged beyond repair. The building that was on the slab, the office building that we walked in, there was nothing there but a slab and the file cabinets sitting out in the floor. They took everything else and blew it across the street.
Incredible. But this survived, and so many.
I know why, but there was something in the building that I don't know when I bought it, when I set it there, that I couldn't have asked for anything better at that time.
Yeah.
The picture out there on the hall and the wall, I'm standing looking through the studio back down, no roof is gone, and I could see back down the back hall a little bit, and leaning up against the wall was a cardboard box about 3 feet tall and about 10 inches square. And I saw it and immediately knew what it was. And I could not remember buying it or why it was there. The only thing you could want right that minute would be Viz Queen construction plastic.
Oh, yes.
100-foot roll, 20 feet wide, unopened. I don't know why I bought it.
Were you able to cover things from rain?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The tornado was come by and it was clear for a little bit, but then here comes thunderstorm warnings and sirens going off again. And that's fixing to rain like hell. And we said, everything's uncovered. All the piano, the B3 organ, everything.
I came to learn the word visqueen during Katrina.
Yep.
Do you think that might have been why you had some on the side here?
We would have been doing something. Honestly, I cannot remember.
Construction project or anything?
Maybe left over from one or whatever. I don't know, but it was there. and I still can't remember the reason for it being there.
Well,
we covered this up. V3 organ out there, we covered that up. The piano that we had at the time, there's so much of the roof had fallen in on top of that we couldn't get to it. But amplifiers, tape machines, all that kind of stuff, we managed to save almost everything, all the big stuff at least. So,
are you feeling lucky?
Yeah, absolutely.
You bounced back from a lot of adversity in life, I'll tell you that. And you're still sitting there in that chair calling yourself lucky.
Well, I've been lucky. I'm an airplane pilot. I flew 3 times across the Rocky Mountains.
Wow.
And once in a single engine plane.
Did you learn just to get around with the kind of traveling you were having to do, or
Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
I always wanted to do it, and finally, after about 20 years, I said, if I don't do it now, I never will.
Yeah.
And I got my license and flew for 20, 25 years until after we sold Muscle Shoals Sound in 2005.
Mm-hmm.
That I was going back and forth up there quite often and all over the place otherwise. I flew all the way to Key West from here, and I flew from here all the way to Victoria, British Columbia.
Did you own your plane, or did you rent
I
it? Yeah. Wow. I love it.
If you don't use it, it's more expensive to let it sit than it is to use it.
Oh, because of the maintenance. You got to keep it going.
Unbelievable maintenance.
Yeah. Do you still have one?
I could still fly one if I had to, but I'm not sure when they would cut your license off. Even if I could get recertified, I couldn't carry passengers at my age.
Also a pilot. We have. Boy, I'm gonna have to go home.
An electrician, pilot, scuba diver, recording engineer, pharmacist.
You forgot talent manager.
Well, did a little of that too.
I cannot thank you enough for making time for me. I could sit here all day long, but there's so much great stuff out there on the internet for people to learn more about Malaco Records. But I'm glad I could hear about Wolf.
It's been my life for 58 years, and I can't think of anything that would have been more exciting for me. Bright lights, big city, people on stage, and you look at all those folks, and it's still foreign to me when people say, "You knew this, you knew so and so, you know, yeah," and so you knew, yeah, I did, but I've done it for so long that I now feel like it's an honor to have been able to work with some of these guys, and it's really an honor that they would turn around and depend on me to help them get to their product the way it's supposed to be. It's not just twirling knobs. No, what do you call this? Sliding these things. Our first console had knobs. Yeah, big one, great big ones. Yeah, and I wish we still had it because it was a big analog console, tube console. Not big, but it was wonderful. It'd be worth something as an antique. Yeah, this one is still adequate, even though we've had it for quite a number of years. It sounds good. It's because most of the recording we do now is digital. We control the microphone still coming in through here and all. So it's been a little piece of gear. Awesome. Okay, final question. I'm going to reluctantly draw to a close. Where did the name Wolf come from, please? The Pike House at Ole Miss. Okay, so that really was pivotal. That's where you became Wolf. What is your real first name? Gerald. Gerald. Okay. A-L-D. Pike House story is pretty neat. I went to Ole Miss. My uncle and my brother's youngest sister's husband was president of the bank down there, and he helped me to get to school or get into help me with finances. So he was a Sigma Chi at Ole Miss. So when I went up for Rush, I went through Rush and all this, and I said, I'm just going to put down Sigma Chi. You're supposed to take 3 choices. And I only put down Sigma Chi. Well, I didn't get a bid for Sigma Chi. So I said, no. I didn't think much about it at the time. A couple of months later, I actually knew 3 people at the Pike House. From Columbia? One of them was from Columbia. 2 of them I had been friends with through a high school fraternity that I was involved with. Mm-hmm. They were high school, little chapters were all around the Mid-South. So I knew a few people over there. So I wasn't totally strangers, but here comes one of those guys, Cecil Brown, the guy that I'd known from Laurel, and one other guy who I can't remember, and another guy named Tommy Cobb came to my room in Vardaman Hall up on the 3rd floor, corner room, and said, why didn't you put down, and I explained to him about my uncle. I said, well, I just put down one. And he said, well, why don't you need to come on over to the Pike House. I said, well, okay. He said, Jim came over and sit around. It's a Wednesday night, and that was Wednesday night, but at night, all the members at the dining room in the house, at the Trinity House. And we sat and talked for a while, and they said, I'll accept the offer to be a pledge. So that was officially made a pledge. And they said, by the way, here's a pledge master, and it's Wednesday night, and the pledges they have to come up with some kind of little skit to do for the active members during the dinner. So the pledge master came in, and one of the guys I knew from Laurel, his name was Sonny Huff. His real name was Frank Huff. Do you remember Frankenstein movies by any name?
Of course.
Boris Karloff?
Yes.
Sonny Huff looked just like Boris Karloff.
Boy.
I mean, really.
Handsome guy.
So the pledge master said, okay, let's see what we're going to do tonight. He said, and his nickname was Frankenstein.
Oh, that's good.
That's his nickname. You, Frankenstein. We're going to do Frankenstein, and you, new boy with the sharp teeth, you're going to be the werewolf.
Did you have a beard at that time?
No.
Yeah.
Our teeth were sharp.
Yeah.
Adam, but so I knew Sonny Huff from the high school fraternity as well. So we sat and talked for a few minutes and came up with something 5 minutes long that would make everybody laugh. And everybody chuckled and whatever. And that's the first time most of them had ever seen me. Mm. And then all of a sudden, well, here's the new pledge. You, werewolf, come help me get the stuff out of my car.
And then it got short to wolf?
It was werewolf for most of a semester. And then after a while, it got shortened to wolf. And then slowly, my family started picking it up.
I was just about to ask if the family does it, because then it's sealed. Yeah. Might as well change your name legally.
Yeah.
Have you ever changed your name legally?
No. But for years, I found a few of them would start calling me Wolf, and then a few more, and after a few years, it was just, that was it.
You know, coming from Jackson and being of my age, I'm used to calling people Mr. and Miss this, and that's the way we were raised, you remember. And I still do it. And you being a bit senior to me and the father of my contemporaries, I would normally call you Mr. Stevenson, but I can't do that because he's Wolf.
Oh, that's not a problem at all.
He's Wolf Stevenson. Yeah. I cannot thank you enough. This is the highlight of my career so far.
Well, it's been an honor for you to come down, and sometimes I wonder why people think it's been so interesting, but it has been quite a ride.
Are you starting to come around on the idea that it's pretty interesting?
Yeah, it still makes me feel good when somebody is so interested in it that they just seem to beam when I explain how this works or that works. Or, yeah, I know this guy and work with him in the studio and all this. And, that's been my daily life. So it's not that much of a difference for me. But yeah. I do still understand that people see stars and they say, well, you know that guy? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, your luck is good, but luck is a made thing. I always tell people for your ship to come in, you're going to have to get down on the dock.
That's right.
Your timing is great. 1967, opening this and starting that. This was a massive pivotal year. And you've been right in the middle of American recording history. You had the best timeline.
Yeah. It's been, we came from the highlight of the halcyon years of tape recording up into digital and on up. And we've seen it all from 8-track cartridges all the way to digital download.
You're on top of all of it as a business.
You have to be. And luckily, we've been able to do that. We've been able to keep up with the changes.
Long live Malaco Records.
Absolutely.
We're going to say goodbye. Thank you from the Lipstick Pickup Podcast. Also, Emily Vardaman. He lived in Vardaman Hall when he was at the University of Mississippi. That was named after my great-grandfather. So, yeah, we go way back. We have Mississippi history together. If you hear excellent tone and the sound of birds chirping, it means you've made it through an entire episode of the Lipstick Pickup Podcast. You're as free as a bird now, but I hope you'll join me again soon. Comments or questions? I can be reached at emily@thelipstickpickup.com.